What's up, everybody? Steve D'Angelo here with the Face Off Sports Network Tuesday waiver show. Let's go. I see a lot of people in the room already. We'll get to your questions. But first, make sure you guys like, subscribe, share. Make sure you're hitting that notification button as we head into the fantasy football playoffs. Obviously, huge freaking week. Hopefully, you made it there. If you didn't, we probably will have some DFS for you guys. We'll talk some other stuff too. Hopefully you're joining us regardless if you made it or not. But if you're in this room, most likely you're in. Hopefully you're playing in a couple leagues. Hopefully you cash some best ball leagues as well. So let's get into it. You guys can follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy, by the way. No Anthony tonight. He'll be back soon. Mike was out. Did something with the family. And then Pete, obviously, had something going on too. So it's just me tonight, boys and girls. We'll start off with Jason Williams. Says drop Isaiah Davis or Braylon Allen for McCormick or Patrick Taylor. Running backs are Brees, Kamara, Bucky, Tracy, Dowdle, Braylon Allen, and Davis. Let's see. I mean, Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen both looked pretty good last week. Isaiah Davis looked good. We'll see what happens with Brees Hall. They're saying they're probably not going to shut him down for the year. I don't think that they're going to shut him down for the year. I think we'll see Brees again at some point. I think he'll probably want to get back there unless it's like a significant injury, but it doesn't sound like it's overly significant. So, maybe Davis and Allen don't have the best value, but are they more valuable or, is McCormick more valuable or Patrick Taylor more valuable? And you have Brees already. So, you kind of corner that Jets backfield there. I like McCormick. Again, this guy was a Conference USA Player of the Year 2 years. He was an undrafted free agent. He looked pretty good last week. He's looked like their best pure runner over Madison, over, Abdullah, and Zamir White just hit the IR today as well. So he's out of the picture. And this could be McCormick down the stretch the rest of the way. So, if you wanted to take a shot on McCormick, I don't mind it. Patrick Taylor looks like he's going to get all the snaps this Thursday. Garendo did not practice again today. But keep in mind, they do have Israel and Abanikanda and Keyshawn Vaughn, who only had 2 carries, I think, in garbage time. But those guys could work into the mix. Is Patrick Taylor going to really garner all the touches out of that backfield? It might really be a committee at this point. So, yeah, he's on the best team, Taylor. So it's very close. But I think the fact that you have Brees, so I think you just corner the market with that Jets backfield because I don't really think McCormick and Taylor are going to be much better than Davis or Allen the rest of the way. If you wanted to go for one guy, I think I would go for McCormick. Jason Williams also says hold Arizona defense or drop them for Kansas City. Atlanta, forget about Atlanta. They're terrible. Denver or Washington. And Denver gets Indy this week, so they'll be facing off against Anthony Richardson. Week 16, they get the Chargers. And then week 17, they get Cincinnati. So Denver, obviously a very, very good defense. But, going against Richardson could create some turnovers there, could get some sacks. Going against Herbert and that offense, Herbert's playing really good football, not really turning the ball over. And then obviously Joey Burrow, we saw once again him and Chase dominating, and he's not really turning the ball over either. Take some sacks. But, Denver's defense, the matchups really aren't that great. So Arizona's defense, I don't think I want to hold them. I probably want to go for one of these defenses. The question is which one? Arizona, they get Seattle this week, then New England and Carolina. So those are very good matchups. And then the Rams, they get New England and Carolina. New England this week, first round of the fantasy playoffs, and then Carolina next week, and then the Rams. So besides the Rams, obviously, two good matchups there. Panthers are playing better. Bryce Young is playing better, but it's still a good matchup. Arizona's defense did not look that great. Freaking Charbonnet running all over them last week. Let's see who else you got here. Washington or Kansas City. Washington gets New Orleans, Philly, and Atlanta. Good matchup this week for New Orleans against New Orleans, obviously. Who the hell is starting? Derek Carr is out. That guy Hober or whatever the hell his name is going to start for them. I think the Spencer Rattler show is over. They saw him earlier in the year, and he was pretty much terrible in the spot starts that he made. Philly, not the best matchup. And Atlanta, we've seen Kirk Cousins turning the ball over left and right. Not a terrible matchup there. And then Kansas City, they get Tampa Bay this week, Denver, and New England. So I guess you could hold Arizona. I mean, against New England and Carolina. If you wanted to go with Washington against New Orleans this week just to kind of advance, I don't hate that too. I kind of like Washington's matchup better against New Orleans than Arizona against New England. So if you just want to make sure you win and then kind of roll the dice with Washington against Philly in the second round, and then if you get past that, you get Atlanta. So I think maybe Washington would be the defense I would go for, but or Denver. Denver against Anthony Richardson wouldn't be a bad one either. Obviously, they're the best defense. They're the top of the class. You could go with Denver as well, but it's really up to you, man. I mean, I'm not really crazy about Arizona. I don't really trust them. I know their defense has been playing better of late, but they had a couple easy matchups against the Chicago Bears and the Jets. So I think I want to get rid of Arizona. So I would either go for Washington against New Orleans this week or Denver, most likely, if I'm going to grab a defense there. Matt Tate says, guys, need help. He says, help set my lineup. 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 flex, 1 full PPR. And here's who he's got. Nakua, London, Lamb, Wilson, Juwan Jennings, Brian Robinson Jr., Chase Brown, Bucky Irving. Quarterback is Josh Allen. That's absolutely beautiful that you have Josh Allen at quarterback. I believe he set the highest score for a fantasy quarterback since, some dude from the 50s or some shit, or the 40s. So this guy's setting records every week, scoring a touchdown, passing and running last week, whatever the hell it was, 2 touchdowns in 1 play, and then 6 total touchdowns, 3 on the ground, 3 throwing, and sets another record this week. Nobody had ever done that. So this guy's just constantly setting records. The only thing he really needs to get done now is to shut everybody up, all the haters up, is to put that ring on his finger. And I think the Bills are a good bet right now, 4-1. I think what I got him at. Last week, earlier in the year, obviously you got much better, 10-1, 8-1. Now it might be like 3-1. I haven't checked what it updated as, but Matt does need 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex, 1 PPR. So he's got Nakua, Lamb, Wilson. So let's go. We got to go Nakua. Obviously, we're not sitting Puka Nakua as the first receiver. Man, you got a stacked team. You got Juwan Jennings, you got Garrett Wilson, you got CeeDee Lamb, and you got Drake London. So the Jets will get the Rams this week. I'm sorry, they'll get Jacksonville. So that's a good matchup for Garrett Wilson, obviously. Aaron Rodgers, good game last week. He's playing injured. He's got injuries left and right, but Garrett Wilson, it was good to see him have a nice day after, 3 weeks of basically doing nothing. You also have Juwan Jennings, who had a big day, 2 touchdowns last week. And, it was his first game in a while. He plays Thursday night against the Rams in a 49.5 total. That is a very nice one too. And then you got freaking, CeeDee Lamb and Drake London. I mean, you just have an embarrassment of riches. CeeDee Lamb against the Panthers. And then you have Drake London on Monday night. 2 Monday night games this week, guys. Bears, Vikings, and Falcons, Raiders. So another good matchup. Drake London against the Falcons. So obviously Puka's the one receiver there. And then I think the other receiver I would go with, I kind of like Juwan Jennings. It's crazy to say. I think I'd go Juwan Jennings. And then the 2 running backs, you got Brian Robinson, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving. Jesus. Bucky Irving is a little bit scary right now. We don't know if he's going to play. Todd Bowles says if his back, responds, he'll play. So it doesn't sound like a very serious injury. It's not the best matchup against the Chargers. So I know Bucky Irving's been great, but you might want to keep him on your bench this week and start Brian Robinson and Chase Brown. Chase Brown, obviously, he's an absolute stud. Ever since Zach Moss has gone out, he's been going nuts. He takes on the Titans this week. So he's in there. And then Brian Robinson against the Saints. I like that matchup. He could fall in the end zone a couple times. So then you need one flex. I'd like to go Bucky there, but I'm going to go Nakua, Jennings, and let's go CeeDee Lamb. Slight edge over Garrett Wilson with Brian Robinson and Chase Brown. Hopefully that helps you out, my man. Come back, the rest of the week, hear the opinions from the other guys. This is more of a waiver show, but just going through the questions right now. I do want to get into the waivers, though, because this is a waiver show. But I'll get to your questions, guys. And if you guys, want to send us a super chat, we appreciate it. Make sure you are liking and subscribing. If you are watching on Twitter or Facebook, head over to YouTube and hit that like button. Al, our boy, says, "What's up? Hello, everyone. What's up, Al?" Paul Pavlicek says, "Hey, guys, who to flex? Pollard, Garendo, if he plays, didn't practice today again, or Rashad White if Bucky doesn't play. I'm concerned Titans game could be game scripted." Bengals Titans. I'm concerned Titans game could be scripted. Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. Pollard could fall behind a little bit there, but he could get some work in the passing game. They still need to kind of lean on him, of course. So I think he's, and with Garendo, I don't think he's going to play, honestly. He's got a foot sprain. Is he going to be able to make it back there on Thursday? There's a chance that he could re-aggravate it during the game. A lot of these running backs, they look good when they're backups, and then maybe they get, they take over for the injured player during that game. They look good in spots, but when they start taking on bigger loads, you kind of see how they hold up. And a lot of these guys can't do it. And we got another freaking injured Niners running back now in Garendo. And Shanahan certainly likes to lean on, one guy most of the time. I kind of think if Garendo's out this week, it'll be a committee. And I don't know about Bucky. I don't know if he's going to play either. So it's between Pollard and Rashad White. I would rule out Garendo. I don't think he's going to play. And then again, Tampa, they get the Chargers. It's not a good matchup. So I think, oh man, White's going to get so much usage, but I think I have to lean Pollard here. Just the better running back. I know White has looked good, but I'm not really crazy about this matchup against the Chargers. I feel like they could kind of just limit his upside. And that's what you need. You want upside. You're going to be playing against some good teams here. Pollard's matchup, I understand the game script, but it's still a good matchup against a Bengals defense that's going to leak points. So let's go Pollard here. We'll see about Garendo. Obviously, I think you go with him if he does play. But that is a little bit risky too, because he could re-aggravate it. And you kind of want to don't make any mistakes, in the fantasy playoffs. So like Bucky Irving, he killed owners last week. He was coming in hurt. I know it was kind of a new injury with the back, but he's all dinged up. Like, can you really trust him this week? I don't know. Garendo, can you really trust him this week? I don't know. So I think you just go with the safe play in Tony P, and you ride him over Rashad White. I think I'm just going to go with the talent here of Tony Pollard. Just pulling something up real quick, guys. All right. Zach Litton, our boy, says, he says, let's go. Yes. Started a little late, but here we are. And we have Emiliano Gonzalez drop Debo for Thielen. Wow. Interesting question, Emiliano. Adam Thielen, man, I think that when he pulled that hammy earlier in the year, kind of helped him that he came back nice and fresh, and he came back just in time when Bryce Young was getting it going. So yeah, he's been the leading receiver for the Panthers. He's looked good while doing it, making a lot of tough catches. But to drop him for Debo, I know Debo has been very, very frustrating. Um, it's just, I don't really, I don't really hate it. It's just, I feel like Debo's got to get going at some point. This is a huge game on Thursday Night Football, 49.5 total against the Rams. I think I got to stick with Debo, man. The Rams they're letting up a lot of points, the receivers, about sixth worst. They're going to play in a lot of shootouts. So I think Debo for this week, I think I just got to stick with him. The Panthers get the Cowboys. Cowboys defense playing a little bit better. I know Overshawn, terrible injury, 3 ligaments. They're saying he may be out the rest of next year as well. But their defense is playing a little bit better. But we just saw freaking Jamar Chase just go off. I think Thielen could probably school the Cowboys too. So honestly, man, if you wanted to do it, I'm not going to hate on it. I just think I have to go with Debo and stick with Debo. He's been a little bit banged up. He has not looked himself. We've seen this from Debo, year in and year out. He gets hurt. He gets dinged up, doesn't look himself. Then he starts exploding and then he gets banged up again. It's just, he's kind of a frustrating player to own. And you kind of thought when Ayuk went out that, he would step up a little bit more, but it's been Juwan Jennings. I mean, Juwan Jennings has just surpassed him as the lead receiver in this offense. So if you want to do it, man, I don't hate it. I think Thielen could have a very nice game. I think he could school those Dallas corners a little bit this week. So I don't hate it, bro. But, I would say I would still lean Debo, but it's totally up to you. KJ Frederick says win or go home. Man, I feel you, bro. I was up in a FFPC league last night. They start their playoffs in week 13. So I won the first round. Yesterday was the finals. And I was going against Chase Brown and Dowdle, and just hang on by 5 points. If Dowdle had ran that one touchdown in, on the Simpsons thing, they had freaking Barney running it in. So he just got tackled. If he would have ran that in, I would have lost. But anyway, KJ Frederick says, win or go home. Start 3. Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson, Cooper Kupp, Juwan Jennings, or Adam Thielen, full PPR. So he gets to pick 3 here. Very good options once again. Off the top of my head, I would say Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, and Juwan Jennings. But let's take a little bit, let's dive in a little bit further here to some of these matchups. And the Bucks get the Chargers. Again, it's not the best matchup for Evans. So maybe I'm not crazy about that. Baker struggling a little bit. He's a little bit banged up. Could Evans have a big day in this matchup? He certainly could. Chargers about middle of the pack against fantasy receivers. So not the best. And then you got Cooper Kupp. Again, Thursday night against the Niners. Shootout type of game. Could be very similar to what we just saw with the Bills. So I think Cooper Kupp has to be in there. And Juwan Jennings. I mean, Juwan Jennings has been too damn good. So I know, last week he was kind of silent for a couple of weeks, but remember, it was a snow game. Purdy was out the one game. Brandon Allen was in. So you have to factor that in. Last week the Niners were healthy, going against a pretty formidable Bears defense with good cornerbacks. And, he had a huge game. So I think you trust Juwan Jennings. And then I already mentioned Garrett Wilson, having a good matchup this week against the Jaguars. And this is a game the Jets, I think, finally get off the schneid. They should eat up, Mac Jones and the Jaguars this week. So Garrett Wilson, again, the game script might be a little bit scary. This could be a game where maybe the Jets are running the ball a little bit more in the second half, but it's the Jets. Like, it's probably going to be close regardless. It's just a 3.5 point spread. And again, I like Thielen as well, But I'm gonna give you Garrett Wilson, Cooper Kupp, and Juwan Jennings here, man. I'm gonna fade Evans and I'm gonna fade Thielen. But again, check back, man. Check back Wednesday. I mean, on Thursday, Friday, and then Sunday morning to hear what the rest of the guys' opinions are. And maybe I'll change my opinion, but that's what I would go for right now. KJ, appreciate the question. Greg says, "What's up, Steve? What's up, man?" Greg, loyal listener to the show. Tron Force, another loyal listener to the show. Rattled off 7 straight wins. Hell yeah. I was in 4th place and needed the 2nd and 3rd seed to lose to get to the 2nd seed. Both teams lost, one due to Higgins only scoring 4 points, from 2-5 to 9-5 with a playoff bye. That is absolutely beautiful. I was on the other side of that. I was in a 14-team league, and they flexed the schedule. So I was the 2nd highest scoring team in the league. I played the top scoring team in the league. I lost. So I needed to win, and I needed like 2 other teams to win to get in. Didn't happen for me. And I won like 5 straight to get in playoff position, but I didn't make it. But I'm glad you made it, Tron Force. That's awesome. Nothing better than going on a winning streak. And this is what happens in fantasy football. When your team goes on a late winning streak, starting like middle of the year, you have a slow start, then you start raking off win after win after win. You just kind of figure out how to set your lineup, and then your team just starts into becomes like a force. Like even if like 1 or 2 guys have a horrible day, the other guys will just have monster days to pick your team up. And that's the signs of a championship team. And you just start feeling really good about your teams as you head into the fantasy playoffs. Firefighter 1526 on Twitch says, I have Laporta and Hawkinson. Would you drop either one of those for Freiermuth? PPR, first week of the playoffs. Man, Freiermuth, he's damn solid. I mean, he's up there in talent with Laporta and Hawkinson. I remember he was a high pick. Laporta, obviously, huge year last year, slow start to this year, but he's been picking it up. TJ Hawkinson coming back from the ACL injury. He's looked pretty good, even with Josh Oliver returning last week. His snap count, his routes were still up. So that was a good sign. But do I want to drop one of these guys for Freiermuth? Probably not. Eagles take on the Steelers this week. About middle of the pack against tight ends. Once again, let me click on the last 8 weeks and see where the Eagles are against tight ends. Actually, that's quarterbacks. Let's go to tight ends. Yeah, still about middle of the pack. I think I'd hold on to Hawkinson and Laporta. The Eagles matchup isn't the best. They have a pretty stingy D. They play that tight cover 3 defense, with the 2 rookies, and with DeJean and Mitchell. They're pretty good at, playing that matchup zone. So I think I'd stick with Laporta and Hawkinson, stick with the dogs that took you to the dance. I know Hawkinson came back a little bit later, but he's been fairly solid for the most part since he's come back. It's just tough to drop those 2 talented guys. Lions Bills this week, 53.5 total. That might be one of the highest totals of the year, if not the highest total of the year. Another thriller. I mean, the Bills with Josh Allen just give you just must-watch TV football, especially in these matchups, where they get into these shootouts. This is like, playoff atmosphere. We saw that with the Rams. We saw that with the Chiefs. And we're going to see this. This is like this could be a Super Bowl preview here, 425 in Detroit. So, yeah, I think you stick with Laporta, man. And then the Vikings, who do they got this week? They get the Bears, 43.5 total. So, yeah, man, I think you just stick with those guys. If you wanted to drop one of them, I think I'd drop Hawkinson for Freiermuth, but I don't think it's a move you need to make. Ronald Mikos says, are you playing Tim Patrick this week with confidence? No, not with confidence, but I don't think it's a terrible play in a game that, obviously has a 53.5 total. And last week we saw the Lions play 11 personnel, 3 receivers, 46%. And Tim Patrick ran 27 routes and 6 for 43 and 2 touchdowns. So obviously it was his best game of the year. His best game in a long time because this guy's been suffering injuries. Always been talented, bigger receiver. I was surprised the Broncos let him go, but just 4 less routes than Jameson, and 8 less, and he was, the second in targets. So I wouldn't say total confidence, but honestly, man, you could do a lot worse, and he certainly could have a decent game. The Bills, it could be a little stingy sometimes. I don't know what happened with McDermott against the Rams. I thought they'd play them a lot tougher on defense. I mean, they just could not stop them at all. I don't know if they were coming off a little bit of a high, coming off that snow game against the Niners, blowing out the 49ers. Obviously, a big name, a team that's been to the Super Bowl, was in the Super Bowl last year. Maybe they're traveling to the West Coast. Maybe just feeling a little too giddy about themselves, and they had a little bit of a letdown game on defense. I can see them bouncing back a little bit here, but still 53.5 total. It's Jared Goff. He's protected by that great wall of freaking China that he's got with that offensive line. Sits back there, and he's got his freaking offensive coordinator, setting him up with guys wide open all over the field. He's got that incredible running game, that freaking Sonic and Knuckles rushing attack. The new Sonic movie comes out December 20th. If you have kids, I'm sure you know about that already. With the Jelly Roll on the soundtrack. Was listening to that earlier when I came home. My kids had it on. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to stop them regardless. So Tim Patrick, semi-confident. I don't, I think it's a fairly decent play. It depends on your options, obviously. But if he's one of your better options, throw him out there. Sea-Dog says, what do I do rest of the year? And I'm just kind of going in order of questions here, guys. If you have anything specific, you want to bump the line a little bit, or if you got somewhere to go, just send me a super chat. I'll pop it up right away. But make sure you guys are hitting that like button, that subscribe button. Once again, if you are coming from, watching on Facebook rather, or Twitter or Twitch, head over to the YouTube page and give us a like there. Sea-Dog says, what do I do rest of the year? My starting running backs are Henry and Saquon. Okay, very nice. I also have Garendo. Is Garendo automatically in my flex? My wide receivers are Jamar, auto start, of course, Juwan Jennings, Terry, Scary Terry, and DK. Which two of DK, Terry, Jennings? I would say Terry and Jennings. DK he's been frustrating, and JSN's kind of slowly stealing that role from him. Home against the Packers this week on Sunday night, 45.5 total in Seattle. Good game. Packers, Seahawks. Packers defense, pretty good defense. That could be a little bit of a sneaky shootout, but Packers are second best against fantasy receivers this season, or the last 8 weeks rather. So, and then DK just been a little bit, he's been frustrating. I own DK and I put him in my lineup, so he doesn't do anything. He's not freaking doing anything. He's just been frustrating. I mean, last 4 games, 7 for 70, 4 for 59, 4 for 66, 4 for 49. And, he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 7 and only has 3 the whole year. So it's not great for DK. That's why I think Juwan Jennings, man, and then Terry McLaurin, I mean, him and freaking Jaden Daniels got something going. I mean, this is going to be a career season for Terry McLaurin. 4 straight 1,000-yard years with all that trash at quarterback that he had. Sam Howell, Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz. This guy's putting up 1,000 yards. So it was almost like a no-brainer that he would have been a smash in fantasy this year. Now, started a little ugly. We're like, what the hell's going on with Terry McLaurin? That's why patience is a virtue. And now he's smashing. I think he's 3rd or 4th as far as touchdowns for receivers in the league against the Saints. So, yeah, man, I think we're going Terry and Juwan Jennings there. Garendo, I don't think is going to play, so I would sit him. And again, even if he does play, there's a chance he plays like the first 2 quarters and gets hurt. So I know it's hard to sit Garendo against the Rams. And if he's out there, you probably want to go with him. And then you have a really tough choice if you have to decide between Terry and Jennings. But come back the rest of the week, man. We'll see what the status is, Thursday night, and we'll give you a better answer on what to do with Garendo. Matt Tate says Otto Graham. Yes. Referring to the Josh Allen setting the record for highest fantasy score for a quarterback since Otto Graham. Well, I don't know, was that the 40s? Moonlight Graham. Remember that from Field of Dreams? Unbelievable movie. Definitely top 10 movie for me of all time. Just an incredible movie. That movie definitely gets me emotional, especially at the end. Jared says, hey, Steve, how did Pete's surgery go? Went well. He's alive. He's breathing. He said he was feeling good from the drugs that they gave him. So, he's doing good. Just had a little quick checkup, but he's good. Little procedure. I would say is more of a procedure. But yeah, he's good. He'll be back soon. Probably just needed a rest day. Obviously went through a lot today. Top 3 running backs on waivers. We get our first waivers question from Jared, our man. McCormick, Patrick Taylor, and Vidal. Top 3 wide receivers. Keon Coleman, very nice. Vele and Dobbs. Would you play any over Tyrone Tracy or Waddle PPR? If not, who is the best pickup rest of the year for the playoffs? Well, let's see. I mean, I like Keon Coleman. The way he was coming on, he had that 125-yard game. And then he had that 70-yard game and the touchdown. And then I don't think he's played since week 9. I'm surprised he's been out this long. And now he comes back, and Amari Cooper's a little bit more accustomed to the offense. And Shakir, and then they're probably going to get Dalton Kincaid back. Is he going to play this week? We'll see. And then they get like the Jets and the Patriots in games where like the game script could just be like where the Bills are just kind of running the shit out of the football. Vele, he's been pretty solid. He's been pretty consistent. Bo Nix is playing good football. The schedule is not bad for the Broncos. I do like Romeo Dobbs. I feel like Dobbs could, be the leading receiver for the Packers down the stretch. We'll see if that's Christian Watson. But Dobbs, if he comes back, he's going to lead the team in routes and snaps. He should, like he was all year when he was healthy. Had that little hiccup where I guess he got mad that he wasn't getting the playing time and whatnot. But then, he set out that 1 week. But, he's a solid receiver. The running backs, McCormick, Patrick Taylor, Vidal. Again, I think I'd go McCormick. Vidal, we're just not really seeing him get any work in the passing game. It's similar to J.K. Dobbins. He wasn't really getting much work in the passing game, although it's kind of picking up a little bit. And then you got Gus Edwards taking the goal line carries and getting the short yards. So it's like Gus Edwards just kind of hurts his value. And then Patrick Taylor, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I know that Shanahan historically just likes to go with one running back, especially of late. But Taylor's kind of been there. He's been there all year. So he's kind of a little bit more accustomed. Are they just going to throw a guy they just picked up in Israel Abanikanda into the lineup and the guy they just picked up in Keyshawn Vaughn into the lineup? And honestly, Keyshawn Vaughn, every time we've seen him, he's been terrible. So who knows if he's going to do anything anyway. And same with Abanikanda. We don't really know. I like his talent. I liked when the Jets took him out of West Virginia, but I don't know what to expect from him either. So in some ways, I think Taylor could be the best pickup, if not McCormick. But if you need a running back, I would say McCormick again. I'll give him the slight edge. And if you need a receiver, I'll go Dobbs because I think Jordan Love, they really haven't got that passing game fully going yet. So I think Dobbs would be the receiver. And would I play any of them over Tracy or Waddle? Probably not. I think you got to stick with Tracy. Getting the passing game work against the Ravens. He should catch some more balls this week. And then Waddle, it's hard to sit him now at this point. The Dolphins just targeted the receivers the most all season last week, 28 targets to the receivers. But that's why we saw Jonnu with the donut in regulation until overtime. Then he went off. So no, I don't think he could do it. Um, if I, if there was one guy, maybe I would consider it would be maybe Dobbs, but I think you just stick with Tracy and the running back there. And then if I had to pick one guy as the best ultimate pickup, I'd probably say Dobbs. But again, it matters if it depends if you need a running back or a receiver there. Marky 219 on Twitch says, do I pick up Brian Thomas Jr., Jordan Addison, Tyrone Tracy, Rashad White, Jalen Warren, or Adam Thielen? Wow. That's a tough one, man. Those guys should all be rostered. I mean, what is this, like a 6-team league, 8-team league? But I'll try to help you out here. I would say, I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. continues to get it done with the dust of Mac Jones. But I think you'd have to go with Addison. The way he's kind of getting it going down the stretch here. I mean, Tracy, Rashad, yeah, I would say it's either Addison or BTJ for me. But again, it depends what you need. If you need a running back, I think you go with Tracy. If you need a receiver, I'd go with Addison. Zach Charbonnet over Pittman or Downs this week in PPR. We'll see if Downs gets back on the field this week. He's still got to come back from injury. But yeah, I mean, Kenny Walker sounds like he's out again, so I think you're sticking with Zach Charbonnet. If everyone or more than 2 people are better, pick 2. And my wide receivers are Amon-Ra, Devontae Adams. My running backs are Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, and James Conner. If everyone or more than 2 people are better, pick 2. My wide receivers are Amon-Ra. Well, you're going with Amon-Ra. You're going with for sure, obviously. And one more out of these guys. Jeez, man, you got some tough decisions. This is why you got to try to play in like at least a 10-team league, because you just drive yourself crazy with all this talent on your bench. I mean, hey, maybe this is a dynasty league and you stacked all this talent somehow, or maybe just made some insane trades this year. I don't know, but sounds like this is like an 8-team or a 6-team league or something. But yeah, definitely Amon-Ra. And then as far as the running backs or Devontae Adams, the Colts get the Broncos. Not great for Taylor. Kamara, Kendre Miller, Dennis Allen. I don't know what the hell he was doing with Kendre Miller, like keeping him on the eye. He really did hate his guts. Kendre Miller with that freaking nice touchdown run. Kendre Miller out of TCU. Talented runner. I'm kind of pissed. I drafted him in Dynasty. I traded him and some other stuff for Amari Cooper and some other stuff to try to win this year. My Dynasty League, I came up short, Cooper himself. I'm kind of pissed I traded Kendre Miller. I was trying to add like a premier receiver because I do have Josh Allen too. They get the Commanders. So the Kamara gets the Commanders. And then Arizona, nice matchup against New England. So let's go Amon-Ra and James Conner. If you wanted, maybe to move off one of the backs, you could throw Devontae Adams in there. Appreciate the question. Pete says, let's go, Steve. Let's go, Pete. Doing well, recovering. Hopefully you got some sherbet over there and, you're down in that. If you guys, want to send Pete some sherbet, we'll, hit him up on Twitter and check out Pete's defensive streamer show. Absolutely dominating in that field all year. Matt Tate says Winston versus the Chiefs or Richardson versus the Broncos. Interesting. I'm going Richardson, man. Jameis, give him credit. He is, I did not expect him to play this well. Really didn't. Now he's still his same turnover prone self. He's just, again, throwing another interception to the lineman this week. But good for him, man. Like his attitude is contagious. He's good for football. He's good for the NFL. he's he's a joy to listen to and also watch too. I mean, he's elevated Jerry Jeudy. We thought Jerry Jeudy was done. We thought even Elijah Moore. I mean, he kind of resurrected both these guys' careers, and even Cedric Tillman until he got hurt, and even David Njoku too. So there's a lot of talent on this Browns team, and who's to say they don't pull out a freaking upset? The way the Chiefs are just barely winning all these freaking games. So I don't totally hate Jameis, but obviously the Chiefs defense. I know they've been a little bit leakier against quarterbacks of late. 340, 2 touchdowns to Aiden O'Connell. Bryce Young threw for 263 and a touchdown against them. Last week, they did a good job on Herbert, but he was missing Ladd McConkey, just 15 fantasy points. So I don't see a lot of upside with Jameis. Now, you never know with Jameis. He could pull something out of his ass. He could throw 3 touchdowns and 300 yards with 2 or 3 picks. So, maybe if your league doesn't penalize turnovers as much, like I'm in that 14-team league I'm in, they don't penalize any turnovers at all, which I think is stupid, but it's an old school league. I don't know. They haven't adjusted to many different things. The 2 top scoring teams in the league did not make the playoffs in that league. Not very happy about that, but or Richardson against the Broncos. And that honestly, it's not the best matchup for Richardson either. Let's see where the Broncos are at against quarterbacks last 8 weeks. And they're about middle of the pack. But they just did let Jameis Winston throw for almost 500 or 497, 4 touchdowns. Running wise this year, Geno ran for 30 and a touchdown. Fields ran for 27 on him. Rodgers ran for 26. Minshew 22. Spencer Rattler ran for 34 yards. Bryce Young threw 2 touchdowns on him. Lamar Jackson threw 3. But that was only 3 quarterbacks. It was Jameis, Lamar, and Bryce, the only 3 quarterbacks that have double-digit touchdowns against them. Geno, Fields, Mayfield, Rodgers, Minshew, Herbert, Jake Hayner, Spencer Rattler combo. So, yeah, I mean, Denver's defense hasn't been as great as they were early in the year. I just think there's a little bit more upside with Richardson, with his running. So I'm gonna give a slight edge to Richardson here. But again, come back the rest of the week, Matt. The rest of the guys will let you know what they think. I think they'll probably pick Jay. There's a lot of Richardson bias on this show. A lot of Richardson haters. So they may go with Jameis. Jeffrey Gross says, I'm down Pickens. Most likely. Yeah, I don't know. I just saw that Tomlin said there's an outside chance he could play. So it doesn't sound like he's playing, right? I'm down Pickens. By the way, NBA Cup tonight, real quick, if you guys got some time, I like to do NBA picks. I'm taking the Bucks -7. And in the late game tonight, NBA Cup, it's the quarterfinals. I'm going to take the Mavericks +4.5. If you get 5, take the Mavericks there. They have a pretty good history against OKC. I like the Mavericks roster compared to the OKC roster, so I think they'll get it done. And then a lean on the over as well. A little bit of college basketball action too. We got the Jimmy V Classic tonight. I think it starts at 7. They may have tipped off already. I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I like Wisconsin against Illinois, and I think Michigan State was my other pick as well. But anyway, back to the NFL. I'm down Pickens most likely, and also Hall is probably not going to play. I'm in similar situations, man. My receivers are not great. I have Debo, Wicks, Nick Westbrook, Akine. All he does is catch touchdowns, except for last week. Which one do you like, or should I see what's available on the wire? It's not good. I'm going Debo, man. You can't go Wicks. Can't go Wicks. Dobbs is coming back. He'll be relegated to, 4th in line again. And then Nick Westbrook, Akine, you cannot start him over Debo. And I doubt there's anything better on the wire. Maybe if Adam Thielen's on the wire, that's possible. Again, we had that previous question from the earlier in the show, so I wouldn't mind that if you wanted to take a shot there. and drop one of those guys for Thielen. I mean, you should add Thielen anyway if he's out there. To tell you the truth, don't drop Debo, and then you could wait later in the week to decide what you want to do. Matt Tate says, "Would you trust Pitts versus the Raiders?" No, I'm not trusting Kyle Pitts. I cannot. It's just been a disaster. You don't know what he's going to do, when he's going to blow. I mean, he could have a nice game, but he hasn't done anything for a month, I guess now. It's been absolutely brutal. So again, everybody's bashing Arthur Smith last year. How do you not utilize Kyle Pitts? And then we see Jonnu dominating, this year with the Dolphins. Shout out to Pete, actually. He did call out Jonnu early in the year. We do have a pizza bet on that. 5 touchdowns rather, and he's at 5 now. So if Pete gets one more, I'll get him a nice pie. Hopefully goes back to Jersey, and then I'll get him a nice pie from a good place local to his house there where he grew up. Jeffrey Gross says Pitts has been like Debo. Such a disappointment, but you unfortunately put them in because of the name. Yeah, I mean, hopefully at this point, though, you have a better option than Pitts at tight end. I mean, there's been a lot of different tight ends that are coming up. Like even Jawan Johnson, I might even throw in over Pitts this week, like with no Taysom. I mean, that's possible too. Josh says, Mixon, Henry, Kamara, and Gibbs. Who do I sit this week? Ooh, that is a tough one, brother. Mixon, Henry, Kamara, and Gibbs. Well, let's take a look at it. Texans get the Dolphins. Ravens get the Giants. I mean, you're not sitting Henry. Gibbs, you cannot sit. And I think the guy you got to sit is Kamara. A little bit more Kendry Miller. Jake Horner is the quarterback. So I think it's Kamara. I really do. I think the Kamara is the one you sit, but absolute stacked at running back. Jason Poole says, with AJB struggling here recently, I'm strolling consider benching AJ Brown and going with Jennings or Brian Thomas Jr. My other starting receiver is Jefferson. Should I bench AJ Brown? I'm in the playoffs at 8-6. Yeah, AJ Brown visibly upset, after the game, saying they need to pass more, or pass better rather. And yeah, I understand the concern. It's just that the Philly doesn't really need to throw that much. They got Saquon, and you got Hurts running. But Kellen Moore did say he wants to scheme up ways to get AJ Brown the football. He said that today. So what are we going to see here from AJ Brown this week against the Steelers? Tough matchup. 42.5 total. Could get the Joey Porter Jr. treatment, which is, not to say AJ Brown can't win that matchup. But man, I think I might like Juwan Jennings here in a shootout against the Rams. And I think that might be the play. Rams, about 10th worst against fantasy receivers the last 8 weeks. Obviously, we saw Cooper have a nice game last week. We saw Shakir have a nice game. We saw Mac Hollins score a touchdown. And I think the Niners, they want to salvage their season. This is a huge divisional game. This could be an absolute shootout. Again, Thursday night games are a little bit tricky sometimes. A lot of times we get dud-ass games. But, Rams coming off an emotional win, too. It's going to be interesting to see how they play in this game. Niners coming off a blowout against the Caleb Williams. They go from Caleb Williams to Matt Stafford, and Sean McVay versus Thomas Brown. So big difference this week. But yeah, man, I would say Jennings over Brian Thomas Jr. But I would say, yeah, I don't mind benching AJ Brown, who has a much tougher matchup against the Steelers. Yanks got Max Fried. I saw that. Good deal. I was looking at his numbers, very, very solid. I noticed his postseason numbers weren't the best, especially the last few years, but only like one start, but he was I guess he was getting knocked out early. Tron Force says better defense to pick up for week 16. Detroit versus the Bears, Falcons versus the Giants, or Colts versus the Titans. Thanks for the matchup, Strong Force. Um, hmm. Falcons against Drew Lock. Colts versus the Titans. Mm, not the Colt. Oh, week 16 we're talking about here. Uh, I mean, I would say the Falcons, but they've been so brutal. So let's I would say off the top, I guess I'll say Falcons. But let's see how they play this week. I know you're probably gonna try to make a pickup ahead of time. Maybe get the bye week this week. I wouldn't mind going Detroit either. I could see them turning over Caleb a couple times. And then the Colts against the Titans, like that might be bad too. I mean, I don't. Levis is hurt again. Are we going to see Mason Rudolph? So all good pickups there. Um, come back Thursday, man. Ask that again. But I guess I would lean the Falcons just because Drew Lock has been so bad. Debbie says, "Hey Steve, who would you start, Stroud or Mayfield this week?" And Stroud gets looked at this earlier. The Dolphins 46.5 total. The Bucks get the Chargers. Tough one. Um, let's see. Yeah, Chargers about middle of the pack against fantasy quarterbacks the last 8 weeks. The Texans against the Dolphins. That could be a little bit of a sneaky shootout. Dolphins fairly decent against quarterbacks. Did let Rodgers just throw for 339 against them. You know what? I think I'm going to go with Stroud. I don't love it, but coming off the bye, maybe they change some things up. I like that a little bit. So I'll lean Stroud, but come back on the rest of the week, Debbie. Ask the rest of the guys what they think. At Jason Poole, I'm also 8-6 debating benching AJB2. Retro says I also have Hurts, BTJs on my bench along with Tracy and Sharp. Connor Bateman says, would you pick up Josh Palmer or Quentin Johnson and drop Debo? No, I'm still holding on to Debo. Again, I like the matchup this week. This Thursday night game. I just feel like McConkey's going to come back too. So he's going to hurt Debo. I mean, he's going to hurt Palmer and Quentin Johnson. I still got to hold on to Debo. But honestly, I understand your frustrations. I just think it's still hard to drop this guy. Retro says I'm sticking with AJB. He puts Hurts on blast and post game interview. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Very possible. And like I said, Kellen Moore also did mention now they want to get AJ Brown the ball. And he's probably seen all these other receivers go off, and he's like, I could do the same thing. I could go for 150 and 2 touchdowns. Just throw me the damn ball. Jared Fortin says my running backs are Mixon, Tracy, Madison, Pierce. Wide receiver are Jennings, JJ Waddle, and Mike Williams. Who would you add? McCormick or double PPR? McCormick or Dobbs. Mixon, Tracy, Madison, Pierce. So Madison and Pierce are very risky. Then your receivers are Jennings, JJ Waddle, Mike Williams. So I think I'd go for McCormick. You need the running back depth. Nino Pena says, need a tight end for the playoffs with Goddard going on the IR. Pat Fryermuth, Hunter Henry, Ferguson, or Juwan. I'd go Fryermuth there. Nino. I had an uncle, Nino. He was the best. Miss him. Rest in peace. Matt Tate says, would you drop Josh Downs or Braylon Allen? Giving the team I listed early tonight. Shit. I got to go back up and scroll your team again. Let's see. You got Brian Robinson, Chase Brown, Bucky, and then at receiver you got Nakua, London, Lamb. Well, I mean, you're pretty much stacked at both positions. It's tough to drop Josh Downs though. So I think but are you ever going to start him with all those other guys you got? And you could use the running back depth. I mean, if you have 3 really solid running backs, I still think I'd hold on to Downs. Even Isaiah Davis is splitting with him. We may get Brees back at some point, so I think Downs will have more value the rest of the way. Millie C says Andrews or Ingram. I'm going Andrews. You cannot go with Ingram with Mac Jones. He's just doing nothing. Big Bo Perp on Twitch says start 2. Pacheco, Thielen, D-Hop, Reed, Marv, leaning toward benching Reed and Marv the whole playoffs. Pacheco, Thielen, D-Hop, Reed, Marv, leaning toward benching Reed and Marv the whole playoffs. I understand Reed gave you the donut last week. Marv is not living up to the rookie hype and the overall number 1 receiver in the draft. He's not living up to the hype. And it's I was listening to some other analysts talk about it, and like they were talking how he's not really a great fit for a Kyler. I kind of understand that. Like you kind of want like more of a pure passer, like a Rodgers or a Stafford or even like a Stroud maybe would be better for Marv. But yeah, I think Pacheco, 3rd week back now, not getting all the snaps, but this is a good spot for him against the Browns. And then Thielen, nice matchup as well. Again, I feel like, Thielen is in a good spot here. Also, he's been the number 1 receiver. Bryce Young is playing good football against the Cowboys. We just saw Jamar Chase just do work with his route running. I think Thielen could do some work on their corners as well. And then you got D-Hop. Who do the Chiefs got? The Browns. Again, we just talked about the Pacheco. Yeah, I don't know if I could trust D-Hop. So I think it's Thielen and Pacheco for me. You do have Reed. I understand he put up the donut. He's been kind of inconsistent. He's kind of hard to predict. But against the Seahawks, could be a little bit of a sneaky shootout type game, But with Dobbs back, again, he's going to be relegated to basically 3rd there. And then Harrison, yeah, he's tough to trust. But the Patriots could be, he could get Christian Gonzalez. So I don't mind it, man. I don't mind going Pacheco and Thielen there. If you wanted to take out Thielen and put in Reed, I think that'd be the move if you wanted to substitute a guy there. Nino says, rest in peace, Uncle Nino. Appreciate that, buddy. Jason Poole says, pick 1 to flex. Jonnu, BTJ, AJ Brown, or Pacheco. By the way, Jared, yeah, Anthony is fine, man. He's good. He's just been really busy with work. He works for RotoWire, so he's been really busy over there, just doing different things with the holidays coming up. So he'll be back, I think, Thursday for sure. But just, maybe Friday. We'll see. But yeah, he's absolutely fine. He's doing good. Thanks for asking. Jason Poole says, pick 1 to flex. Jonnu, BTJ, AJ Brown, or Pacheco. Well, I'd like to go Jonnu, but you got Brian Thomas Jr., you got AJ Brown. I think I'm going to go with it's either AJ Brown or Pacheco. Pacheco, again, is he going to get the full amount of snaps now? 3rd week back. Hunt's still kind of in the mix. This is a good spot for him. I'll go with Pacheco. It's either Pacheco or Brown, though. But again, tune in the rest of the week, man. Jay Dallas 510 says start 2, Dowdle, B-Rob, Aaron Jones, and Rashad White. B-Rob Jr. for sure. Dowdle's been nice. Cowboys get the Panthers. Good matchup there. Aaron Jones, he hasn't been great. Did find the end zone late last week. Gets the Bears. And then Rashad White, possibly if Bucky's out. So I'd rule out Rashad White. I don't like the matchup. I'm going B-Rob for sure. And then it's between Aaron Jones and Dowdle. I think I'd slightly lean Dowdle there, actually, against the Panthers. Steelers D or Falcons? Steelers D. No Falcons. Tree Huggin Hunter says RBs are Barkley, Cook, and K9 have Gainwell as a just in case. Would it be worth picking up Ford or Kendrick Miller? I'd pick up Kendrick Miller. Ford's not really doing much, and he's splitting with Chubb. And I think Kendrick Miller is the better running back. So I'd go Kendrick Miller and take a shot on him. They might want to get a deeper look on him as the season goes on. Matt Tay says, how bad is Bowers affected if Desmond Ridder is a starting quarterback for the Raiders? I didn't get a chance to look at Ritter's the way he looked this week. It's, obviously last year he was a shit show. I saw somebody say he played decent this week. I got to go back and look at it. Off the top, I think he's definitely somewhat affected. And Michael Meyer actually had more yards than him and got some more snaps this week, some more targets. So, but he's such a good player. Bowers, it's not that hard to connect with him. He's going to get open. It's not going to be way down the field. So it's a slight downgrade, but there's no way you're going to worry. You can't really worry about Bowers. You got to put him in your lineup. You have no choice. That's it for the questions, guys. I want to talk about some of these waiver pickups. Obviously this kind of turned into more of a start sit show, but I wanted, we did answer some waivers as well. One more question from Blurp. He says, Andrews or Ferguson full PPR, and which defense? Commanders, Chiefs, Jets, or Ravens? I kind of like the Commanders since no Carr for the Saints. Yeah. What's his name? I can't even remember the guy's name anymore. Dylan Haber, whatever his name is. Yeah, I can't. You're going with Andrews. We saw Ferguson have a decent game yesterday, but Shoemaker was still getting involved. Maybe that's a little bit more for Andrews now, his second week back off the concussion. I think you got to go with the Ravens, though. The matchup is just too good. I know their defense hasn't been great. Their secondary is stink, but you got to go with the Ravens against Drew Lock. So that's the one I would go to. Yeah, Commanders is a nice one too. I give a slight lean to the Ravens though. Matt Tay says, should I drop ETN? I really traded away Connor for ETN back in week 6. Biggest mistake. Yeah, definitely a mistake. I wouldn't drop ETN if you didn't have to. Matt Tate says the waiver streets are dry. Yeah, we are late in the game. Is at quarterback, we got Jameis, maybe. Is Rodgers out there? Bryce Young, Wooly Levis, Cooper. If you have to start Cooper Rush, forget about it. Any of these guys now with no buys, you shouldn't have to start any of these guys. Really. So the quarterbacks, what are we going to say? The running backs, we got Sincere McCormick. If you didn't pick him up last week, again, Zamir White is now out for the year. We still don't know if Madison's coming back. We don't know do they want to see what, they're going to give Madison the role again. They probably want to see what Sincere McCormick's going to do the rest of the way. He's looked good. 5.3 yards per carry, since he's been out there. Versus Madison, who's been 3.3, Zamir White 2.8. So they stink. Got good matchups: Atlanta, Jacksonville, New Orleans. So Sincere McCormick is a guy that I want to add, especially if I need running back help. Patrick Taylor, again, Garendo might not be playing this week, so it's a guy you have to add. And in the back end of that, Israel Anabaconda. Forget about Keyshawn Vaughn. I think Anabaconda would be the guy. Tank Bigsby, did somebody drop him? Maybe you can get him back. He led the Jags in rushing last week, 18 for 55 and a touchdown. Took back the carries from ETN. Isaiah Davis, is Breece Hall going to be sitting out once again? He looked good. It was like a 50-50 timeshare between him and Davis practically. Braylon Allen, rather. And he looked good. Had the touchdown, had that long run. So that's another guy. Kendre Miller. We've talked about him a couple times on this show already. Davis Allen freaking hated his guts for whatever reason. Had him in the basement, locked up somewhere maybe. I don't know what was going on there. But Kendre Miller, talented running back at a TCU. Again, this guy did not play in the national championship game because he was hurt. And then it kind of just carried into his rookie season last year. And this year he's been hurt all year too. But suppose he's been a little bit healthier than been led on. I guess Allen just got so sick of him. He just didn't want to bring him back. He's probably trying to ride Kamara's coattails, save his job. That's probably what he was trying to do. Kamani Vidal, it's not great. But again, if you need running back help, you need depth. You lost Dobbins. Maybe you're counting on Jonathan Brooks to do something down the stretch. Obviously, he's out for the year with the ACL. He's got to get a little bit more work in the passing game. And Gus Edwards is in front of him, on the goal line and whatnot. But not a terrible one there. Jeremy McNichols, Eckler's out. So that's another name to consider. He's still on the IR. Chris Rodriguez is also in the mix a little bit there. Just some names if you're desperate at running back. Some stashes as well. You got Corum, obviously. Ray Davis. Trey Benson. Just to back up your studs. I think Gainwell's a good one if you're a Barkley owner, obviously. Even Will Shipley, if Gainwell's owned. If you are a Barkley owner. Again, if you have trash in your roster, your rosters at this point should be totally optimized for the most part. But if you have some trash, if you suffered some injuries last week, drop those guys and pick them up. In a lot of leagues, like especially in high stakes, I can't even make more pickups. It's done. And some even home leagues, you're locked out of pickups the rest of the way too. So, but again, you want to optimize your teams as much as possible down the stretch here. Adam Thielen, that's been a popular one on the show. Now, if he's out there in your league, you have to pick him up. Just take him away from your opponents. Go pick him up. Elijah Moore, Jameis is making him relevant. Cedric Tillman, did somebody drop him? Because he's been out with his concussion. Obviously, that's another guy you want to go grab. Quentin Johnson's not a bad one, for some wide receiver depth, or Josh Palmer. Romeo Dobbs, we talked about him earlier, coming back from concussion. If he's out there, I like adding him. Desperate one, a little bit of Ray McLeod. What are you going to really get from him? Had a nice game last week, 90 yards, I think, something like that. But most of the time, he's going to be like 4 for 40, 4 for 50. So just, again, optimizing your rosters, trying to look for something reasonable to add just in case you hit an emergency, next round or in the Super Bowl. Jalen McMillan, nice game. Can you really count on him? Not too much. And Sterling Shepard, Tim Patrick, we talked about him. Nice matchup this week in a shootout, 53.5 total with the Bills. Not playing that many less snaps or not running that many less routes than Williams and St. Brown's, another guy. Hollywood Brown, is he still out there? He was possible he can come back week 17. I did snatch him up in a few leagues last week. So if he's out there, he's worth taking a shot on. If you could put him on your IR spot, that's absolutely beautiful. That's what you want to do. Keon Coleman, if somebody dropped him, go pick him up. Michael Wilson, 3 straight games with 50 plus receiving yards now. Scored last week as well. And not a bad one. Marvin Mims, he's starting to get more carries. And Peyton's saying he should have gave him more carries all of a sudden. Kind of shot in the dark, but not a bad one. Tight end, Juwan Johnson, like we talked about before. Stone Smart. Excuse me. Sounds like Disley's going to be out a couple weeks. Had about 50 yards last week. With Herbert, not a bad one. I'll be honest with you guys. Dynasty guys, if you have anything to chime in on Stone Smart, I don't know much about him. I haven't even seen this guy. I got to do my due diligence after the show and go check this guy. I don't really need to add him because I'm pretty stacked at tight end. But just if you're desperate for a tight end, he's a body. And he's playing with Justin Herbert and had a nice game last week. So don't mind that one. I think I might like him more than Grant Calcaterra, even with Dallas Goedert on the RR. I know he scored last week, but most of the time Calcaterra has filled in for Goddard. He really hasn't done anything. And now we may see more A.J. Brown anyway. But Juwan Johnson, he's always been talented. Jake Hayner at quarterback. I think he's probably better than Rattler. He's kind of played a little bit better. In this, the spot starts we've seen or spot chances we've seen from the two guys this year. But Johnson's always a guy that kind of finishes strong down the stretch. And some defenses, the Ravens we talked about, the Commanders, possibly the Falcons, have some nice matchups, even though, one is against the Giants, the Raiders this week, then, next Sunday against the Giants, but their defense is atrocious. It's hard to trust. Bengals have some decent matchups too, and then the Cardinals as well. But again, check out Pete's defensive streamer show. He'll take care of you with that. Couple more questions, and we'll wrap this baby up. We're at an hour 10. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Once again, if you're wondering where Anthony is, he'll be back soon. He's been just very busy with work on the holiday season. Mike had some family stuff. Pete is on recovery. He's doing really well. Thank you for all the prayers. Send him some sherbet. And what do we got here? Blurpy says, I'm dropping Nick Chubb for Sincere. I don't know if I want to do that. Connection's a little funky, it looks like. Hopefully it's pumping through. Do I sound okay, guys? Oh, yeah, we're back. I don't know if I want to drop Nick Chubb for Sincere. Excuse me. Matt Tate, what a shame about Zamir White. He definitely was a hidden gem during the drafts. Yeah. He's been terrible. You think Walker plays this week? I got Charbs and don't want to play Swift at all. No, I don't think he's playing. Jared says, thanks, Steve. Have a great night. You have a great night too. Tyler Algier, if he's still there as well. Agreed. Especially if you're a Bijan owner. You got to be adding Tyler Algier. Scored for the Falcons versus the Vikings. Yeah, but he's going to be hard to rely on, but he's more of a stash in case Bijan, something happens to him. But, in a pinch, you need to put him in the flex. Not terrible. Johnny Talbot says, start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, full PPR. Here are your options. Jennings, Sutton, Evans, Mooney, Judy, Dowdle. I feel like I got a frog in my throat. I would say Jennings and Sutton there. And then 1 flex, either Judy or Dowdle. Very close. Not thrilled with Judy's matchup this week against the Chiefs, so I think I go Dowdle. I know Judy's been hot, but I'll go Jennings, Sutton, Dowdle. But stay with us all week. Johnny, ask that question again when the other guys come back. Should I play Keon Coleman or Chris Olave if they're healthy? I don't know about Olave. I know he's going to get some tests. I haven't heard anything about him. If you have Keon Coleman, he should play this week, but we don't know. But yeah, I would play him. It depends on, I have some confidence. And in a shootout game, he might do a little something this week against the Lions, but it depends on your options. AR5 or Knicks. My opponent has Allen. I think I'm going Knicks. Yeah, against the Colts. I trust Knicks a little bit more. And he runs too. Matt Tate, hold the Eagles tight end. He scored last week. Again, Calcaterra, I'm not thrilled with him. So it's not terrible, but I think there should be other better options out there. Matt Tate says, you guys are great. And he says, give me your top five receivers and running backs for next year's fantasy mock draft. So we're talking about 2025 top 5 running backs and receivers. Off the top, I would say Bijan, Saquon, Gibbs, Achane. I don't know, man. Like, he gets so much usage. He's in there. Chase Brown might be in there. Kyron might have to be in there again too. And then Achane probably. So yeah, Gibbs, Chase Brown, Bijan, Barkley, and then Achane or Chase Brown. And then receivers, Chase, Jefferson, easy 2 guys there. Nico, I think, is in there now. Puka, and I guess St. Brown. But there could be somebody else that moves over St. Brown. We'll see how this year ends out. But Chase, Nico, Puka, Jefferson, definitely 4 there. Dylan Fink says playoff waiver wire. That's why we're here, brother. Washington at New Orleans, Jets at Jacksonville, Falcons at Las Vegas for the defense. We're going with Washington, man. We'll go with Washington. Quinn off the bye, scheming some things up. Let's go the Commanders. I like that. All good options there. The Jets could cause some damage against Jacksonville too, against Mac Jones. So that's not a bad one either. The Falcons, I don't know. I don't trust them. So for me, man, it'd be the Jets or Washington. Both pretty good plays. So you decide what you want to do there. It's close. And then 1 kicker, Bass at Detroit. And then also, Pete's got his streamers video. Defenses, check out Hoff's kickers streamers video as well. Both doing really well. on those videos, doing a lot of research, putting it in. So check those out on our YouTube page. Kicker. Bass at Detroit, Dicker versus Tampa Bay, Riker versus Chicago. I'm going with Dicker. He's been the most solid kicker. Dicker, the kicker, been solid all year. A little bit of a slow game, but they kind of weren't doing much on offense, but they should pick it back up against Tampa this week. Ravens or Broncos D. I like the Ravens again, against the Giants and Drew Lock. Or if Tommy DeVito comes in at halftime, doesn't matter. Matt Tate says, feel like Bucky could be a top 5. He's definitely in the mix. He definitely is in the mix there. But you got Rachaad White a little bit in the way still. I don't know if Rachaad White's going away, but it seemed like he was going away, and then Bucky just couldn't stay healthy. And then Matt Tate says, Ritter revenge game, laughing my ass off. Yeah, it is. But I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for everybody hopping in tonight. We got through, we talked about a lot of start sits. We talked about the waivers, though. We went through every position at the end. So hopefully we gave you guys some good ideas to start off the week. Now, again, you want to refine those lineups. You want to keep doing your research. This is the fantasy football playoffs. Come back Thursday and Friday and Sunday morning for final start sits. Also, tomorrow, mediators talking a little bit of dynasty, but also you could ask them start sit questions. Those guys are really good as well. And then I think hopefully Mike and I will have a DFS show at some point this week. But that is it, guys. We will see you soon. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great night. Follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. Take care.